Wondering how to use the Nuliie Wearable breast pump? Then stick around. I'm going to walk you through step by step everything you need to know from assembly to tips and tricks so you can use your Nuliie Wearable breast pump with ease. So let's get started and take a quick look at the different parts that make up the Nuliie breast pump. Now, I do love that there are only 5 different parts. Makes assembly really easy, cleaning really easy. So firstly, you have your pump motor. So this is what creates and drives the suction. Also has your control panel sitting on the top, which we will go through shortly. You have your duckbill valve. Now this opens and closes during your pumping session and takes the milk from your flange tunnel and pushes it into your collection cup. You have your diaphragm. Now this helps to prevent any backflow going into your pump motor, making this a closed system pump. You have your collection container. So this is the cup where all of your milk pools during your pumping session. It is a 6-ounce capacity size. And then you have your flange. So this is the part that sits across your breast, the flange tunnel where your nipple goes into. It is a 24mm flange size. So how does this all go back together? Firstly, you are going to take your duckbill valve, and there is a little opening at the base of the collection cup. We're going to want to slide this in. Make sure that you have this in nice and firm. It can be a little bit tricky to push in, but we want to make sure that this is nice and secure. Our pumps work on suction, so any air gaps are going to lead to a loss of suction and therefore a loss of output. We also want to make sure that this is nice and flush facing with our collection cup. So the flat bit here is in alignment. If you can see that, what I mean. We don't want it up this way. We want it nice and straight in alignment with the base. Then we take our duckbill valve, our diaphragm. You can see here that there is an indentation. This aligns with the opening of your flange tunnel. So that will slide in. Again, we want to push down nice and firmly, making sure that this is nice and secure in place. Then we're going to take our flange. Now, highly recommend that you line this up with the cutout with the pouring spout first. So it's really hard if you don't quite have it to try and move it around after. So make sure that you have the correct alignment. Then we're going to want to lift up the lip of this edge. You'll see here that's got a little bit of an edge. This needs to go up and over the outside of our collection container, and then we simply push that nice and firmly around. Now this is one of those critical points where we really need to make sure we have that seal. Any little bits where you don't have this fitted correctly are going to create those air gaps that we really do not want. So run your fingers around, make sure it's nice and firm before we move on. Then we take our pump motor. You'll see here there's a little indent section that goes over the top of our diaphragm, and this simply pushes down and clips into place. Now, before we get started with any pumping, we want to make sure that our hands are washed, they are clean, and that our pump parts are also clean before we start pumping. Also need to make sure at least once a day that we are sterilizing our pump parts. Now to do this, you can use the boiling method, which is 5 minutes boiling your parts in a pot. You can also use a steam sterilizer for the Nuliie. In terms of washing, warm soapy water to clean them. There is also the fridge hack that you can use in between if you're pumping multiple times a day and you don't want to be washing or cleaning your parts. You can use the fridge hack. I will link to my video for that. All right, so we have our pump assembled. It is clean, sterilized, ready to go. There is one other thing that we need to make sure we look at before we actually start pumping. And that is making sure that we have the correct flange size. So in your pack, you might have seen these flange inserts. You might have wondered what these are actually for. These are for reducing this flange tunnel size to the size of the insert. So this is an 18 millimeter. When I place this in, it then reduces this flange tunnel size from the 24 millimeter diameter down to the 18. Now, which size should you use? In your kit, you should have got a nipple measuring guide. Now, this has your nipple ruler in it. Ideally, imagine my finger is a nipple. We want to make sure our nipple is stimulated, and then we simply place this over our nipple until we get to the base. It moves nice and freely down without too much areola showing through. So at the base, we are wanting this to glide over our nipple right down to the base without all that areola. So if it is too tight and it's not going to move freely through the flange tunnel, it's going to rub, we're going to get sore nipples. It's not going to be pleasant. If we have it too large and we're drawing through the areola, it's not going to be compressing how it should. We're going to be compressing our areola tissue. And that's also going to be very uncomfortable. We're going to end up with low output, the same as if it's not able to move freely through that flange tunnel. So if my finger was a nipple, I would go for the 24 millimeter flange size. However, if I had a smaller nipple, I might want to go for, say, the 18 millimeter diameter, and that is where this flange insert comes into play. So find what your nipple size is, and then if you need to use a flange insert, they simply slide in, make sure they're nice and flat, and then you can get started with your pumping. All right, so with the Nuliie, your controls are only on the pump itself. There is no app that is connected to this. This is solely done on the pump itself. So we want to make sure our pump is charged. There's nothing worse than being halfway through your pumping session and your battery runs out. So we want to make sure our pump is nice and charged. We hold down this power button. It also duals as our mode button. So once your pump is on, you will see here at the top that you have a little squiggly line here. Now this is your stimulation mode. So we want to start in our stimulation mode. These are the short suctions for initiating our letdown. So we want to be starting our pumping session off with a letdown. So run this for around 1 to 2 minutes until you feel your letdown coming in. Then we have a few options. You can click the mode button and switch across to your expression mode. Now these are the longer, deeper suctions for drawing out your breast milk. So this is a great option to move into. However, you also have a third mode, which is a massage mode. Now this is a little bit more of a pulsating rhythm to it. So they call it massaging. It's a little bit more of a pulsating to be a little bit more gentler. And then you also have a fourth automatic mode, which is a combination rhythm. So it's a few of the shorter suctions and then the longer suctions as well. Which one you choose will really depend on you and your body. There is no one size fits all when it comes to pumping. I would recommend starting on your stimulation for at least the 2 minutes and then switching over to your expression mode. Have a play around. Some people find that they are fine with just the one letdown. Other people find that their milk starts slowing during their pumping. That's the time when we want to switch back over to this stimulation mode and try and get another letdown. So you might want to follow the 2 minutes on stimulation, 8 minutes expression, 2 minutes on stimulation, 8 minutes on expression. See how it goes. You might just find that your body responds really well to the expression mode. Again, you're going to have a play around, record what your output is, how are you feeling during your session, and then you can gauge it from there. In terms of the other options on the pump itself, you have this plus and the minus. Now this is for increasing or decreasing your suction levels. So the modes include your speed cycles, which how fast these suctions go. The suction levels are how strong those pulls feel. So we may want to start, I recommend around a 2 or a 3 level. Starting at the 9, which is the max, you'll probably find that it's very strong and might rip your nipple off and feel very uncomfortable. So start low and then work your way up till you find a level that is both comfortable and gives you a great output. With pumping, I think one of the biggest myths is the stronger the suction, the stronger the pull, the more milk you're going to get. But that's not how it works. A lot of the time it's based also on your comfort levels as well. So start low, work your way up. You can also see here under the min sign how long you have been pumping for. So at this moment it is 3 minutes. There is also these little dots on the side. This is your battery level. So it goes up to the 4. I'm halfway with my battery. So after this session, I would look to then put my pump on to charge. There's also a pause button if you need it. To turn your pump off, you simply hold the power button in for those 3 seconds. So once you have finished your pumping, we then want to remove your pump motor and then put that aside. This never comes into contact with breast milk. It does not need to be cleaned. We simply remove it and put it over to the side. If it does get breast milk on it, if it does get water on it, dry it off as quick as you can, and then hope that it hasn't ruined your battery. Once we are ready with our storage container, then we're going to pour our breast milk in. You cannot store your breast milk in the collection container. You do need to put it into another one for storage. It does have a great base on it, so you can place that down while you have your other pump that you are also dealing with. In terms of battery, the battery will last around 90 to 120 minutes. So you should get around 4-ish pumping sessions, depending how long you're pumping for. Maybe 15 minutes. Some people need longer, might be up to 30. So keep that in mind. Charging is a USB-C. It just sits in the base here, and then put that into your plug. So very easy. You can't use your pump while it's on charge. So I always recommend placing it on charge when you're seeing that battery get low. All right, and then once we're cleaned, we can either use the fridge hack or clean our parts and then sterilize that once a day. The only other thing that I haven't really mentioned is that when we are putting our pump on, we almost want to lift a bit of our breast tissue in, leaning forward, and then placing our nipple in nice and centrally. So when it comes up, it is nice and central with the pump. We want to make sure that we fit this with a nice, firm, secure pumping bra. With wearables, we are really looking and needing the seals for the suction. So that's part in our pump, but as well is where it attaches to our breast. So if we're moving around and getting gaps, it's going to impact that suction while we are pumping. So nice and central, make sure that it is nice and firm. With any wearable, you can move around, but you're not going to be able to do a whole pile of movement. It will impact your seal. You may also find they end up with a little bit of spillage. So keep that in mind. You can move, but also we're not going to be exerting ourselves, doing yoga, etc. while we are pumping. They are not designed for that. When we are removing it, remember too that we have this is now suction to our breast. We don't just want to rip it off because that is going to rip our nipple off with it. So we want to lean forward. That helps to make sure any leftover breast milk that is pulled in the flange tunnel will also drip down into our collection container. So lean forward slightly, break the seal with our finger, and then gently remove the pump. That really is it with the Nuliie. If you have any questions, please ask and I'll do my very best to answer them. Love to hear your experience with it. No doubt it can help other pumping mums as well. If you've loved this video, please give us a thumbs up. It really does help this content get seen by other pumping mums. And if you want more videos like this, hit that subscribe. Cheers.